Live from the Business RadioX studio inside Renaissance Bank, the bank that specializes in understanding you. It's time for North Fulton Business Radio.
And hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of North Fulton Business Radio. I'm John Ray, and folks, we are broadcasting from inside Renaissance Bank in beautiful Alpharetta, actually right on Main Street in Alpharetta. And speaking of Renaissance, they have just announced that Forbes has named Renaissance one of the best banks in the world. Yes, in the world. In one of their latest surveys, which is World's Best Banks of 2022. Renaissance ranked as the sixth best bank in the United States. That's pretty awesome. And just so you know, that's not a fluke. They have been named best bank in Georgia for the last 2 years in a row. So if that's the kind of bank you feel like you need to be at, if you need a bank that really deals with you in a personal way, then go to renaissancebank.com and check out their offices. They've got some 200 offices around the Southeast ready to serve you, and give them a call. I think you'll be glad you did, because somebody will actually answer the phone, and that's pretty cool, I think, about Renaissance and the way they work. I know I've had a good experience with Renaissance, and I think you will too. Renaissance Bank, understanding you. Member FDIC. And now I want to welcome an old friend. Ehab Jaleel is with us. Ehab is the executive director of Amana Academy. Ehab, welcome.
Well, thank you so much, John. Really great to be back.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. And we were just talking before we came on. You've had so much going on. I had to have you back to give everyone an update on what's going on with Amana Academy. So welcome back.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So for those that don't know Amana Academy, how about giving a little introduction to how you're serving folks?
You bet. So Amana Academy was established in 2005 as a public charter school within the Fulton County school system. And we've been around now for 16 years. We're serving about 800 students, Fulton County students, in grades kindergarten through 8th grade. And then we're about to launch our second campus, which is going to be in West Atlanta, with a very unique partnership that I'm sure we're going to talk about.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's pretty cool stuff. So for those that don't know, what are charter schools? I mean, explain. People hear a lot, and I think some of it's positive, some of it's negative, but explain what charter schools are and how Amana Academy fits in that tapestry.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and we get it a lot. Charter schools were envisioned. The concept came up in around 1990, late 80s. A professor at the University of Massachusetts had come up with this idea that to introduce innovation in the public school sector, it'd be great to be able to give schools autonomy from some of the rules that districts have, so that they can try new things and see what kind of results they get. So almost kind of like incubators of innovation. And so that's how the movement started in the early 90s. And in Georgia, charter school law came into effect in 1998. And so ever since then, the number of charter schools has grown throughout the state. Some schools are locally approved, like our flagship school in Fulton County, where the local Board of Education evaluates petitions that come in from different folks. It could be educators, it could be a higher ed institution, it could be an individual. And so some are local, and then some are state schools. They're authorized through the State Charter Commission, which was enacted in 2012. And so, you've got now about 170 charter schools around the state of Georgia, all over. So some of them are online schools, some are small schools, elementary, some are K-12 schools. There's a wide range of formats for the schools, but the idea is that they are these crucibles of innovation that can try a different approach to learning that may appeal to certain types of learning styles, or in case of an area of the state where education options may not be very good, that a charter school may come in and be a new option and a new way to invigorate innovation into the system.
Sure. So let's talk specifically about the innovation that Amana Academy brings to the market.
Yeah. So, back, and I'm one of the co-founders of the school, so I have the history to be able to talk about this. But, at the time that Amana was being established, there was one school in Fulton County, Crabapple Middle School, that was in Roswell, that was using a program called Expeditionary Learning. It's a Harvard-based approach to learning, and they were only offering it to the talented and gifted kids. So about 130, I think, kids were benefiting from it. So our idea was, why don't we offer that to all students? And, EL education, as it's called now, is being used in 160 schools around the country, and some major districts have implemented some of the structures. And so our pitch to Fulton County Schools was, we want this project-based, multidisciplinary approach to learning and offer it to all students as an expression of equity, but also to really challenge students in new ways. And the model was built out of a relationship between Harvard and Outward Bound. Outward Bound is, decades old and takes young people and puts them into these kind of adventure experiences. And Harvard said, what you're doing really could apply to the classroom in terms of, as a metaphor for, perseverance in trying to solve a math problem, or collaboration, where we're all trying to climb this mountain together. And so they formed Expeditionary Learning. And so it's a nonprofit that provides professional development to schools around the country. There's a couple of other very unique things about our school. We are a K-8 school, so that's unique in terms of public education, especially in Fulton County. You don't see a lot of K-8 schools.
Right.
I know that they were thinking about it in South Fulton, and it didn't take off. The other very unique thing about us is that we teach foreign language from elementary all the way up to middle school. And there's only a couple of other Fulton County schools that teach foreign language. Foreign language instruction in younger grades is really important because the research shows that it stimulates cognitive learning, and it also gives kids cultural competency, being able to understand and compare and contrast, their own experience to those of people from around the world and different races and so forth. And so we were unique in that regard, but even doubly unique. The language that we chose was the Arabic language.
Oh, wow.
It's one of the 6 UN languages. And so the U.S. State Department back in the early 2000s really felt like there are some critical languages that public schools needed to start teaching at the elementary level. And those included Arabic, Russian, and Mandarin Chinese, for example.
Got it. And what are the advantages in your mind, and what you've lived out here over these past few years of K through 8?
Oh gosh, I think it's a wonderful structure for schools because it solidifies the relationship between the student and their teachers and their administrators. They're with those people for 9 years. And so it's not, uprooting them right after elementary school and putting them into a situation with a lot of other kids where they, right at that age of adolescence, when they're trying to kind of figure out who they are. So I think that from a relationship standpoint, it's incredibly important. There's a lot of research that says that if a child feels that somebody in the school cares about them, they're going to succeed in that school. They have that sense of belonging. They're familiar with it and so forth. The other thing that I think K-8 really helps with is just, what we call vertical mapping. So, in terms of, looking at the trajectory of the learning from kindergarten all the way up to 8th grade, you can tie things together. There can be themes that cross into middle school. it also gives the middle schoolers an opportunity to be leaders of elementary school students, and mentors. So regularly we have our middle schoolers as reading buddies for our elementary school kids. And so they learn that compassion, they learn that empathy and patience. And then the last thing I'll say is just, kids are kids, and letting them be kids into adolescence is not a bad thing. There's just a joyous kind of atmosphere. And I think a lot of times, we push young people to become, adults maybe sooner than they're ready for. So, by ninth grade, they're ready. And so, those relationships, the leadership skills, and then just the joy of learning and being kids.
And I want to get back and touch with the uniqueness of K through 8, but then the uniqueness of the foreign language. Let's touch on that. Obviously, kids are able to handle this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I would think that's maybe one concern parents might have.
Yeah.
They want their kids to have that language capability, but how early do you start? Do you run into that concern? And obviously you've addressed it.
Yeah, I think most of the concern that we see is kids that may be coming in at a higher grade, like, a third grade or a fifth grade, or even in our middle school. And so the parents are wondering, okay, how are the teachers going to differentiate within the classroom for the kids that are novice coming in? And just so people understand, we're not developing fluent speakers. Yeah. But they are getting exposure to a foreign language early on. And when they're able to, kids at a very young age have malleable brains. And so they can pronounce things differently. They're able to pick up the nuances of accents and things like that adults can't. I've tried learning a foreign language. In college, I took Japanese, and it was much more difficult, even in college,
right,
than if I was learning something like that at a very early age. We do teach French as well in middle school, but we do start the Arabic in kindergarten. And a lot of it is just, getting familiar with the sounds, the different alphabet and those types of things. And so what we find is that children really, they think it's kind of cool. They're speaking, a different kind of language. It's like this, almost like in a movie where you have all these kind of, foreign languages or Star Wars type situation. And so they go home and they share these words, and, this is how you say red, and this is how you say, living room, and things like that. And it gets them excited to be able to do that. And then we offer them a trip overseas. So our middle school students have gone to Morocco and to France.
Oh, wow.
Where, especially that's a good combination because Moroccans speak French fluently. And so, they can get exposure to both languages. And then when they leave our school, Fulton County Schools gives them 2 high school credits for foreign language. They give them one for Arabic and one for French.
Oh, wow. Ehab Jaleel is with us, folks. He's the Executive Director of Amana Academy Charter School here in Alpharetta, but also coming soon in West Atlanta. We'll talk more about that in a second. I want to switch gears just a second, Ehab. I know your story, but others don't. Talk about why you made the move you did. You came out of corporate into elementary and middle school education. That's quite a jump.
Yeah. I a lot of it has to do with my wife being an educator in an earlier, career, and her whole family from a family line of educators. And what was happening was, I think we were seeing what she was experiencing in her school, where she was going to conferences and learning about project-based instruction, new ways to teach kids that involved a lot of field work and just, outside the 4 walls of a classroom. And she would come back and the reaction she always got was, well, that's not the way we do it here. And people are very traditional. They're very kind of set in their ways. And when we started to, explore different options for our children, our own, I've got 3 girls, as I was talking to you before we started. And And then one day, my mother-in-law came to visit from Houston. She was an administrator in the Houston public school system. And she said, the way I'm listening to you guys, I think you guys should start a charter school.
Oh, wow.
And then, we just jumped on the idea, started doing some research. This was back in 2002. Mm-hmm. Got some other folks involved, charter school law, really, it's something to be understood. So we had a lawyer, we had an attorney, we had a finance person, because charter schools are nonprofit organizations on their own. They're their own 501c3s. And so running one is like running a nonprofit.
Right.
And so you have the authorizer, but at the same time, you've got, all the same kind of fiduciary responsibilities that any other nonprofit would have. But for me, I was working at the Coca-Cola company at the time. I was in marketing and really focused on new products, new packages, that kind of commercialization of new ideas. And I've always been attracted to innovation. And I think this is, being in the charter sector is kind of a continuation of that same kind of mindset that I've always had and that passion. And we started the school. I served on the board for a couple of years and then came off the board and became just a parent. And then 5 years into the school's history, the school had started growing from 130 students to up to 300, 400 students. Mm. And the board felt very strongly that they needed somebody with a business mindset to manage the school, because, a lot of times with nonprofits in the early years, board members are very involved. They're hands-on. They roll up their sleeves, but then they need to release that and to an executive that's running it. And so they worked on me for 6 months, and including my wife. And she said, you're never going to get a chance like this again to do something good. And Coca-Cola is going to be fine without you. So I did make the leap, and I haven't looked back, frankly. It's been an amazing journey. It's been 12 years, and I'm looking forward to the next few years as we grow and start to impact more children and more families.
I'm curious, Ehab, about your expectations of what these 12 years were going to look like, and then what has surprised you that just came out of the blue that you didn't expect.
Well, one thing that surprised me was the difference between corporate culture and nonprofit culture in general. And I think it's schools, but I think in general, nonprofits, what I've discovered is, because I've become much more connected to other nonprofits through this experience, is that, nonprofit leaders, nonprofit workers, whatever, associates, they're very passionate about what they do, and they will give you their all. And when it involves children, it's even more than that.
Right.
And the fact that, a charter school is a school of choice, it's not just the parents that are choosing to come there, but all the teachers are choosing to come there. And so there's this real strong mission alignment and sense of purpose. So that's been a surprise. I had volunteered before with nonprofits, but not on the inside. And so just to see that level of interest and support has been amazing. Other things, I think one expectation that I had was, that it would be easy to disseminate the practices that we've been successful at, and I think we've tried really hard to do that. But the district schools are incredibly busy. They've got their own priorities, and I think we're trying to find more ways to be able to share promising practices across, traditional public schools, charter schools, and even independent schools, because I think the solutions are out there. It's just a matter of getting people from different backgrounds and different structures and allowing them the freedom to be able to share those best ideas.
Ehab, talk about the students that are at the school. Where do they come from? What makes them eligible.
Yeah.
Because folks may not be aware of that. And I mean, what's the geography they come from? And why Amana versus, I mean, there are a lot of great schools in North Fulton. We're blessed in this community to have a lot of great schools. Why Amana for some parents and their kids versus other choices they have?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And I love talking about our students. So I love this question. So, we're about 800 students, as I said earlier. Any student in grades kindergarten through 8th in the Fulton County school system can attend our school. So that includes everybody in North Fulton, everybody in South Fulton, as long as they're a resident of Fulton County schools. Now, Fulton County also goes into the city of Atlanta, but that's a different school district. That's Atlanta Public Schools. And so those kids are not eligible to come to our school. The vast majority of our students live within 15, 20 minutes of our school. And so they're living in Alpharetta, Roswell, Johns Creek, Milton. That's where the vast majority of our students come from. There are some that come from Sandy Springs, some from Mountain Park, for example. Mountain Park's small, but still there's a few that come from there. And then some that even come from South Fulton.
Oh, really?
And their parents are just incredibly devoted, and, they're driving them up an hour and 15 minutes each way.
Wow.
And so we've got it's ranged anywhere between 5 to 8% of our students come from South Fulton, but about 92% of our students come from North Fulton, in particular, Alpharetta, Roswell, Milton, Johns Creek. That's where they come from.
Gotcha.
And they're just super diverse. So that's the other thing I wanted to say is that we've cultivated a student body that really reflects the diversity in the entire Fulton County. We've got, no majority population in terms of, white, black, Hispanic, whatever. We've got 28 different languages spoken at home. So it's a very, eclectic kind of intercultural type of situation.
That must make for interesting PTA meetings.
Oh, it's amazing. And the food is what's really kind of fun.
Wow.
But and then even economically speaking, they're diverse. We have a range of economic backgrounds. Some kids are from very disadvantaged, households economically, and then some that are driving in Maseratis. And so it's just that whole range. And it's beautiful because they all put on an Amana uniform, and the kids can't tell,
right?
What kind of, living situations they're in, and we're here to support all of them.
That's awesome. And talk about the student experience. What students take away. I mean, what's the feedback? I mean, students that come back years later.
Yeah, and now that we've been around for a while, there's students that are now married. They're successful in all kinds of things that they're doing. Some are in the military. My own daughter went through the school and spent 4 years in the 82nd Airborne. And then, my other daughter's at Tech at Georgia Tech, and she's, studying environmental policy. But one of the things the EL education, the expeditionary learning approach, looks at achievement in a very broad way. It's not just about the mastery of knowledge and skills. It's also about character and habits of scholarship and relational character. Do I have compassion for other people? Am I going to persevere and solve this problem? Do I have, a stewardship ethic and so forth? And then the last piece of it is high quality work. Is there craftsmanship in the way that I've, built this diorama, or the way that I've written this essay, or this tiny house for a homeless person? Our 8th graders have a project where they build a tiny house, and they learn their physics and their math by building that tiny house. And so that broader definition of achievement allows us to create an experience that's really multidisciplinary. We focus a lot on joy in learning. We focus a lot on this concept of crew. that we are crew, not passengers. That's our motto. It comes directly from the outward bound roots of expeditionary learning. And so there's these really tight relationships that are built between the students and their teachers, and then between the school and parents. Mm-hmm. And so, there's layer upon layer of opportunity for us to build, connections with each other. And so there's a joyous kind of hum in the school, is what I call it. And it's rigorous work, but it's meaningful work. Every one of the projects that, these, we call them learning expeditions, they last a semester, where you pull in these different topics. Every one of them has a real world application. And in the past 7-8 years, we sought out to become a STEM certified school as well. So what we've taken is the EL model, and we've applied to it design thinking, and really powered it with STEM education. And so the projects that the kids work on are real world applications. They involve STEM and technology and engineering and that problem solving skill set that we all want kids to have. And then we're only one of 5 STEM certified schools in Fulton County Schools, which has over 110 schools. And so, you asked about why do parents choose us?
Right.
They're looking for that. They're looking for a multidisciplinary approach for their kids. They love the character element of what we talk about. They love that sense of community that we've got. But in addition to that, they want their kids to have the right skills for the future. So,
right.
We got to be thinking about, the way we teach kids is not for our world. It's for the world that they're going to inherit in the future. And so they've got to be ready for that.
Sure.
And STEM, is right at the center of all kinds of different industries and different, aspirations that children's have. And so the fact that we're a STEM certified school through the Department of Education is a big deal to parents.
I can imagine. Ehab Jaleel is with us, folks, the executive director of Amana Academy. So, Ehab, you have had some big news here recently. Mm-hmm. As relates
Super excited
as it relates to a partnership with the Girl Scouts. Say more about that.
Well, it really starts with about 5-6 years ago. We were starting to think about the impact we were having with our kids, and the fact that we're an A-rated school. We're one of the top performing schools in Georgia with a very diverse population. And, we felt the need to really explore the idea of replication, to replicate our school and maybe start up another school, maybe a small network of schools. And that is common within the charter sector, that if there's a good model, the fastest way to more success is not to start more charter schools, but to replicate really successful models. And so we were approached by a couple of foundations as well to give us some seed money to think about the idea. And the pandemic slowed us down, and there were a couple of false starts, through that experience. But we really kind of honed in on West Atlanta. If you look at West Atlanta, there is plenty of opportunity for better schools in West Atlanta, South Cobb, even South Fulton. And so we started to look, and, I reached out to a friend of mine that I went through Leadership Atlanta with, Amy Dosick, who's the CEO of Girl Scouts of Greater Atlanta. And I said, Amy, we're thinking about starting a school in this area, and, we've had a couple of false starts. Would you consider us if we started a school at your headquarters, which is in Mapleton? They've got a facility called Camp Timber Ridge. Mm-hmm. It's 270 acres of land that already has classroom buildings and a dining hall there that they only use during the summer.
Oh, wow.
And Amy had been, very interested in our STEM program. She saw a lot of similarities with what Girl Scouts was doing around STEM education. And so, she said, instead of starting it here, I'd like for you to make this your permanent location. And Camp Timber Ridge is twice the size of Piedmont Park. So it's a very large facility. It's a beautiful facility that's kind of almost an oasis within South Cobb. And so we set out to form this partnership, and it's been amazing so far. We're going to be using their existing buildings. We're going to be adding some new buildings. And then over the next few years, we're going to be running a capital campaign for shared use type buildings. They've been looking for a program center, a STEM center of their own. Now we would be able to use that as well. And we think that's going to be attractive to the philanthropic community. And so, it's a real synergistic type of relationship, which will allow Girl Scouts to fully utilize this, resource 12 months out of the year.
Right.
And the response has been fantastic. So we've gotten some good media coverage. Parents, we've got 200 spots for kindergarten through third grade. That's what we're going to start out with. And then we're going to add a grade every year up to eighth grade. But we've gotten, almost 350 applicants for those 200 spots.
Oh, wow.
And so, as a brand new school in the area, I think what people are realizing is we've already got a track record at our flagship school. Our principal, Helena Brown, has been in residency at our flagship school for 2 years already. We're going to be, transplanting 3 teachers from the flagship school to the new school. So we're doing it really intentionally. And we want to start off, on the right foot. But the camp and the atmosphere of being in nature and being in the outdoors, it's going to be a STEM learning lab right outside their classrooms. And a lot of the programming that we do around adventure PE is what we call it. We'll have it right there.
Yeah.
They've got outdoor amphitheaters, they've got low ropes courses, high ropes courses, and just a beautiful setting for a school, frankly. And so we're thrilled and very privileged to be working with Girl Scouts on this.
Wow, that's awesome. And now those that location is in Cobb County.
That's right.
Does that mean it's for Cobb County students, or will your Fulton County students be able to access that campus, or how does that work?
Great question. So earlier when I was talking about the different formats for charter schools in Georgia, so some are locally approved, like our flagship school in Fulton County, and then some are state commissioned schools. So this one will be a state commissioned school, and so anybody in the state of Georgia can send their kids there.
Oh, wow.
If they live in Savannah and they've got a helicopter and want to bring their kid, they're welcome to do it. But
right.
So the catchment zone is wider. And what we've seen with the families that are coming is that they're really coming from South Cobb, South Fulton, and West Atlanta. That's where 80-90% are coming from.
Right. Great work.
Yeah.
So
very exciting.
Yeah, that is awesome. So we're coming up on the on time to wrap this up and let you get back to work. But we are North Fulton Business Radio. We've got a lot of business listeners. Businesses are always looking to give back. Talk about how businesses can connect with you and help, and what you're looking for from business partnerships.
Absolutely. And, we've had some great partnerships that unfortunately through the pandemic kind of slowed down, but now we're starting to see it, come back. We're always looking for volunteers. It could be team building activities for the businesses, tending to our community garden. It could be a painting project. It can be, we've got a TED Talk that we do every year. We've had Best Buy employees come and help us stage the TED Talk. So it can be in many different ways. We've also got a number of board committees. As a nonprofit organization, by law, we have a governance board that I'm accountable to. Some of which is parents, and some is corporate and business representation from the area. And so, if people are interested in serving on a board, they're passionate about education, or even serving just on a committee for the board, they're welcome to reach out to us. Financially, we've got different campaigns that we're putting together. Our latest campaign is called Beautiful Spaces Fund. We're upgrading our furniture. We don't get facilities funding from Fulton County Schools. That's something that charter schools really, struggle with, not getting facilities funding. So we rely on our operating budget to fund our facility and any kind of improvement. So, we've had an incredible relationship with Georgia Power in upgrading many of our air conditioning units and things like that. But that Beautiful Spaces Fund helps us make small improvements each year to different parts of the campus. So it can be, upgrading our cafeteria or repainting something or adding a garden, all kinds of different opportunities there. Our latest project was a sensory room for kids that, are overstimulated and so forth. And so, they work with our physical therapist and our occupational therapist in that room. And so little things like that really, really do help us and help us bridge that gap that we've got.
Wow. Great work from Ehab Jaleel and all the folks at Amana Academy. Ehab, this has been terrific. I'm so delighted.
Been great to catch up. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for coming back. And but let's get to the really important question: is for those that would like to get in touch, would like to learn more in whatever capacity they're in, tell them how they can connect with you.
Well, they can certainly visit our website, amanaacademy.org. We have a presence on Facebook. We've got a presence on Instagram and Twitter as well. And they can also always send an email to info@amanaacademy.org.
Terrific. Ehab Jaleel, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, John. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Hey, folks, just a quick thought for you. If your family is tired of that drive-through fast food stuff you're bringing home, here's a better answer for you, particularly if you're over in the Johns Creek area on Jones Bridge Road. A&S Culinary Concepts. Now, yep, they've got a culinary studio. They do corporate catering. They've got corporate team building. They even do big green egg boot camps. Those are fantastic, by the way. But they also do let us cook for you meals. Now, you have to check the website and see when they're doing these, but go to asculinaryconcepts.com and check them out. And you just place your order, drive through. They put it in the back of your car, and off you go. And you're a hero when you get home. So Andrew Traub and his folks over there, they do fantastic work. 678-336-9196. If you want to talk to Andrew directly and tell him I sent you, I think you'll be glad you got in touch. And folks, North Fulton Business Radio is on all the major podcast apps. We're on show number, 450, something like that. We would love it if you would share the show. If you have heard something here that makes rings a bell and you think others would benefit from it, please share the show. That's what we're all about here. Business RadioX is celebrating the great work of business and community leaders like Ehab, and we can't do that effectively if we don't get help from you. So if you could help us do that, we'd greatly appreciate it. So for my guest, Ehab Jaleel, I'm John Ray. Join us next time here on North Fulton Business Radio.